Hello class, this is Geometry Topic 2-1 over points, lines, and planes. So this topic is just about getting some vocabulary down. So I'm going to go over each one. The description's already written, and we want to do a sketch. And how do we name these? How do we write this down? So first off, we're talking about a point. A point is the exact location of space with indefinite size and shape. And so it's just a dot kind of floating in the middle of nowhere, and we usually name it with a letter, always a capital letter. So we would just call this A. This is point A. We don't need to write point. It's just implied. We just call this A. Now a line is an object with no thickness and extends infinitely in both directions. So we're going to draw a straight line. In geometry, whenever we talk about a line, we're talking about something that is straight. Okay? And it goes forever this way, it goes forever this way, and it has no thickness to it. It's just a marker saying we're going this direction and this direction. And we can have a couple of points on there, X and Y, or we might name this with a lowercase p, and so we could call this line P, or we could say line XY. Now a line segment is similar. It's basically a line, but it's not the whole line. It's just a piece of it. So we're going to draw the same thing. Here I'm going to go ahead and put X and Y. And the line segment is just this part. Okay? And so the way we label this is we say XY, and we put a line. Now notice here we had arrows. That signified that it is a line. Without the arrows, this is a line segment. Most time you could just do this to represent both lines and line segments. But if you want to make sure that it's talking about a line and not just a piece of the line, you want to use arrows. Now let's talk about array. Array means we have one point and we go in one direction. It's a part of the line, but it's only one half of the line. So we can call that X, Y, and we're going to do another one. I'm going to go ahead and make it go this way and call this W and Z. Now the way we name this is we'll do X, Y, and we do an arrow on one side. Now, there's a little bit of ambiguity here. We don't always draw our arrows when we're talking about lines, but when we're talking about array, you always draw an arrow, and the arrow is always on the right-hand side. Notice here, even though my arrow is going left, I drew it going right when I named it, and my starting point, my end point, is Z, and the direction it's going is W. So we're talking about opposite rays. We're going to have X, Y, and Z. Well, we've got one ray that goes that way, and we've got another ray that goes that way. It's the same line, it's just going in two different directions, and Y is our common endpoint. So we would say YZ and YX. Notice, y is the endpoint, so y is always the first letter. It's important when you're talking about rays that your endpoint always goes first. So that was lines, which points make up lines, and lines are one-dimensional. Well, now we're talking about planes, and planes are two-dimensional. It's a flat surface that goes infinitely in all directions. Usually we draw little quadrilaterals. Actually, I'm going to draw a big quadrilateral here. With arrows showing that it goes off in all directions. I'm going to go ahead and put some points on here. I'm going to call them A, B, and C. Or I'm going to go ahead and also label this with a big capital cursive letter. So we could say plane R with a big capital cursive letter, or we could just call this A, B, C. 3 points. Just list them, and that's a plane. Or we could talk about plane R and use the cursive R. Just like with a line, we use the cursive P up here for my line. This was lowercase, and this is uppercase. Now points are always uppercase. Okay? So this is our first page. Let's go ahead and flip to the other side. And let's talk about some more terms. So collinear are points that lie on the same line. So X, Y, and Z. And so we would say that X, Y, and Z are collinear. Now, if you have 2 points are always collinear. So if we want to say that points are collinear and it means something, we're going to be talking about more than just 2 points. Now, non-collinear means they do not lie on the same line. So we have X, Y, and Z. Okay. Now notice, I could draw a line from X to Z or from Y to Z, but I can't draw a line that goes through all 3 and be straight. So here we would say that X, Y, and Z are non-collinear. Now, coplanar is points that lie on the same plane. A, B, C, and D. We'll make sure our plane goes out in all directions. And so, just like 2 points are always collinear, 3 points are always coplanar. So here we would say A, B, C, and D are coplanar. And over here, non-coplanar A, B, and C. And then we've got another plane with D. We would say that A, B, C, and D are not coplanar. This is kind of hard to see in 2 dimensions. Basically what you're talking about is you have 2 planes, which I'm going to just use erasers, okay? One of these is obviously on top of the other. And so you have 3 points that are on this eraser and 1 point that's on this eraser. And these erasers are obviously not on the same plane. Now, they don't have to be parallel planes, meaning that they go in the same direction. I could actually have them tilted, like this, just different angles. And points that are on this plane would be coplanar, but points that are on this plane would not be coplanar with this one. So, in geometry, we're not just going to be dealing with 2 dimensions, we're going to be dealing with 3. Now, down here it says to name one of each of the following from the picture at right. I'm going to go ahead and name several. A point, we have, A is a point, B is a point, all of those are points, A, B, C, D, E, and F. Now, G is not a point. Notice that it's in cursive. Cursive means that it is a plane. Let's go ahead and look at lines. Well, we have line AD. It's also the same as AE. And really, that's the only line that we have labeled. Now, I could technically draw another line going from A to B and call that line AB, but that's not drawn in the picture. So we're going to just leave it at AD, or AE, or DE. All those are the same line. And I just happened to put them in alphabetical order. We could have said ED, and it would have been the same line again. Now, planes. We have plane G. Or we could call that D, E, F. We also have plane H. Or we could call that plane D, E, C. Notice that plane H is this rectangle that D, E, and C are all on. This plane has D, E, and F. It's that rectangle. Now, a line segment, again, I can pull anything that I wrote up here. I just leave off the arrows. So I'm going to say ED. We also have EA. And we also have AD. Okay. Now, these are all different segments. Okay. They're all different segments, and notice I've kind of flipped the letters around and make duplicates. And I could say DE. DE would be the same as ED. But those are line segments. Now, ray. Well, I'm going to have ray AD. Ray DA. Those are different rays. I could have DE. Okay. And there's several more. Now, if we want to talk about opposite rays, well, there's only one pair of opposite rays. That would be ray DA with ray DE. And I'm going to say and. I'm going to put a little and sign right there. DA and DE. Okay. Those are opposite, going opposite direction, and they share the same end point. So, this is just definitions, making sure that you understand what these terms are. The assignment should be fairly easy. Good luck and have a good day.